My name is Andrew McGee, and this is for my UofL online class ELFH316. And this video should serve as my instructional how-to video. So as you can see today, we've got my 1997 Ford Probe here that I drive every day, and it's due for an oil change. So I'm going to show you how to do an oil change. And now you're going to go ahead and look up your car either in your owner's manual, or I have a service manual for that car, and you look in here under maintenance, and if you look right here, it says engine oil. So if I have a 2-liter engine or a 2.5 liter engine, and on this car I have a 2.5 liter engine, and it says it takes either 10W30 Super Premium or 5W30 Super Premium. Okay, so now that we know what kind of oil that the car needs, it needs either 5W30 Super Premium or 10W30 Super Premium. We're going to go to the auto parts store or wherever it is you buy your oil, and you're going to select that oil. In my particular case, it says it takes 5 quarts, so I always have a little bit extra for the trunk, so that's where this one came from. And then this whole jug here is 5 quarts. Now, while you're at the auto parts store, you're also going to ask them for an oil filter for your car. They used to have it in books to where you could serve it yourself and see what oil filter it takes, but usually it's easier now to just go ask them at the counter what kind of oil filter it needs. And in this case, this is the one that my car needs. Now you're going to want to go ahead, get underneath the vehicle to drain the oil. However, on a car like this, they are really low to the ground. I'm kind of a big guy. I can't really slide under there and drain the oil out just yet. I need to jack it up or get it higher off the ground. In order to do that, I'm going to use a floor jack and jack stands for backup precaution. Whatever you do, this is my safety tip, do not ever get under the vehicle with just a floor jack. If you do that, as you can see, the jack has wheels on it. It can actually shift, and if that happens, the car could possibly fall on you and even kill you. So that's my safety tip for this. So if you don't know where to jack up your vehicle, that is usually also located in the owner's manual. But for the sake of this video, I know where my car needs to be jacked up, and I'm going to do that now. So I position my jack, and on my car there's a spot of the frame that hangs down just to the driver's side slightly in the front. And now you raise the vehicle. Now that the vehicle is raised, you're going to want to go ahead and since we have the vehicle raised to the level that we want it to be raised at, we're going to come over here and make sure that you have something secure pushed behind the back wheel of the car. So as you can see, this will prevent the car from rolling. We want to make sure that this car does not move at all while we're underneath it. So once we do that, we're going to take our jack stands, and like I said, you don't ever want to get under a car with just a floor jack. It's just not safe. So take your jack stands, slide them under the car, and adjust them to the best position for your particular vehicle. All right, and you do the same thing on the other side. All right, and once you do that, you come over to the jack handle and you slowly unscrew the jack handle. If you watch, the car will slowly come down. And then before you do anything just yet, you want to double check and make sure that it's nice and secure. So put your weight on the car. Now this car is nice and secure, and now we can get underneath it. Now you want to go ahead and get your drain bucket or drain container, whatever it is you're going to use to drain your old engine oil in. So remember, you can't let this stuff out in the grass. You can't let it off in the driveway. It's going to make a huge stain, and not only that, it is against the law to illegally dispose of used motor oil. So let's get our old motor oil out. First thing you do is slide your bucket under, and you want to find your oil drain plug. Most of the time this is directly underneath the car towards the middle of the underhood area. Now it's going to vary from engine to engine or car to car, but use the owner's manual to locate it if that's what you need to do. So once you locate it, you're going to loosen it. Alright, so once you position the drain bucket underneath your oil drain plug and you've got your drain plug loose, you go ahead and you unscrew, and as you can see, now the oil is draining out of the engine. This oil's been in here for several months now. It's usually good to change the oil every 5,000 to 7,000 miles, depending on the car's age and depending on the engine type. Check your owner's manual if you're unsure. So while the oil is draining out, I'll go ahead and show you where the oil filter is. And if you look straight up from where your oil drain plug is, usually the oil filter will be very, very close by. Most of the time you won't be able to get these loose by hand, but I did. If you need a pair of grabbers or big pliers to get it loose, you just squeeze it like it's a big bolt or screw, and you unscrew the oil filter, just like that. So now you can see that our oil is almost all the way drained out. I'm going to go ahead and move the drain pan closer to the oil filter, and now I will also remove the oil filter. Be careful, because when you do this, some oil is going to spill. It happens every time. There's really nothing you can do to avoid it. Just try to catch as much of it as you can. And once you unscrew the old oil filter all the way off, it'll come off. Now you're going to want to go ahead and get your new oil filter out. You don't ever want to take a new oil filter and install it onto the engine with no oil in it, because it will take the engine an extra 2 to 3 seconds to fill this up before the oil will actually circulate through the engine. So you're actually causing a slight amount of engine damage with running a dry oil filter on your first start after an oil change. I always take a funnel, insert it into the filter. I've got my new oil here, and I'll just fill it to the top, or as close to it as I can. And then that way, when my engine starts up after my oil change, it's going to immediately have that oil available to it. Now you want to take your new oil filter that's pretty much full of oil, get back underneath the car, and you're going to install the new oil filter exactly the way that the old oil filter was on there. And all it is righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. You go all the way to the right. And for an oil filter, you only want these things hand tight. So get it as tight as you can with your hand. Wipe everything down with a rag, because there will be a little bit of residual oil from everything that just went on. Then you take your oil drain plug and you put it back into the oil pan. And tighten your oil pan. Once you've tightened your oil drain plug and your new oil filter is installed and it is also tight, it's time to jack the car back up off the jack stands. Then remove the jack stands on each side. And lower the car. Go to the inside of the car and pop the hood. Lift the hood and find where the engine oil goes into the engine. And in my case, it's right here in the front. take your funnel and your new engine oil, and add however many quarts of the oil that the engine is supposed to hold. Once you get the engine full of the correct amount of oil, all right, now you're going to want to go ahead and tighten your oil cap, and now go start the vehicle. Let it run for just about 5 to 10 seconds, and make sure that the oil light does not stay on or come on while it's doing that. Now you're going to want to go ahead and check. So to check the oil, find the oil dipstick. As you can see on there, there is a, might be hard to read, but there's a F for full and an L for low. So you want it somewhere in between there, preferably up right at the F or the full mark. So you wipe the dipstick off because you don't want to trust the reading that comes out first. You wipe it off. Now you dip your dipstick back into the engine all the way and then pull it back out. And as you can see on this, it might be hard to see, but we are somewhere in the middle right here. So I'm going to add just a little bit to get to our full mark. But that's it. That's all there is to it when it comes to changing your oil on your vehicle. Save yourself some money and know that the job is done right.